Yeah.
Just give me a thumbs up again.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call the town council meeting on March 4th, 2024 to order, please. And Councilor Timbrow, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sue, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Bailey?
Here.
Counselor Carbone?
Here.
Counselor Clancy?
Here.
Counselor Durick? Counselor Rhodes?
Here.
Counselor Timbrow?
Here.
Counselor Zambrello?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest? Mayor Lesser?
Here. Thank you, Sue. The first item of our agenda is we're going to have a proclamation for the Girl Scouts, and if they would come up front here. I was doing a little research for this, and you'll be amazed to know that the Girl Scouts sell $200 million worth of, 200 million boxes of cookies a year, and they make $800 million. That is not a typo. 800 million. It's the greatest sales force, is the Girl Scouts, and for a great cause. I'm going to read a proclamation, and then we're going to have one of our Girl Scouts say a few words. So let me read the proclamation. Whereas March 12th, 2024 marks the 112th anniversary of the Girl Scouts of the United States of America, the largest and most impactful leadership program for girls in the world. And whereas the Girl Scout movement began on March 12th, 1912, when Juliet Daisy Gordon Lowe, a native of Savannah, Georgia, organized a group of 18 girls and provided them with the opportunity to develop physically, intellectually, socially, spiritually, and whereas today more than 50 million women, trailblazers, visionaries, leaders, are Girl Scout alums who have made the world a better place. And whereas since its beginnings, the Girl Scouts has emphasized public service and civic engagement, and has fostered a sense of community in girls, and whereas Girl Scouting is a powerful force for social connection and creates a positive and uplifting national and global network among girls, and whereas Girl Scouting takes an active role in increasing girls' awareness of the opportunities in math, science, sports, technology, and many fields of interest, then it can expand their horizons, and whereas Gold Award Girl Scouts take on projects that have a measurable and sustainable impact on a community by assessing a need, designing a solution, completing a project, and inspiring others. Whereas Girl Scouts of Connecticut serves 18,000 girls across Connecticut, now therefore, on behalf of the Town Council, I, Ken Lesser, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the town of Wethersfield, do hereby applaud the commitment Girl Scouting has made to support the leadership development of American girls and proudly proclaim the 12th of March to be Girl Scout Day. Witness hereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Wethersfield to be affixed today, this 4th day of March, 2024, to the Girl Scouts. I think, is it Penny, you were going to say a few words about the Girl Scouts or what it means to you to be a Girl Scout?
This is such an honor, and so I love Girl Scouts because I get to learn amazing new things, make new friends, and see my friends. And I think that it is very rewarding, so thank you.
That is great. Can I have the Girl Scouts come up and take a picture in front of us, and maybe the moms, you can help and come up as well, and Penny and everyone, if you want to, this is for you, if you want to hold this, and then any of the moms or anyone wants to take a picture with the counselors behind them.
Are we getting up and stand?
You want to stand? I guess they should stand, yeah.
Well, we gotta come closer, you know, it's a wide angle.
Gonna need enough. Yeah.
Get
Bring it
wider
in,
all the
everybody.
time, right? Coming in.
Any former Girl Scouts in our
I'm
group?
a former Girl Scout.
Oh,
Yeah, I am.
Oh, we got a few. Yeah.
I love brownies.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good job. That's yours. Yeah, you were great.
Good job, Penny. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Moving along, the next item on the agenda is the Central Connecticut Health District Report with Charles Brown, the Director. Charles? Try and top the Girl Scouts.
I cannot do that. I will not try to do that. They got me beat every day and twice on Sundays. So if I can get the screen down, they're going to work on that. A lot of new faces on the council since I've been here. So let me introduce myself. My name is Charles Brown. I'm the Health Director for the Central Connecticut Health District. I'm in my 9th year with the district, and the district has been here for about 28 years. So I'll be going over kind of our annual presentation to let everybody know kind of the things that we do. How many people on the council and in the audience have dealt with the Central Connecticut Health District? Raise a hand. Nice to see it. Was that because we gave you a shot in the arm? That's what I kind of figured. So hopefully we'll give this as a shot in the arm right now. Okay? Okay, so we good? Bring the lights down? Oh, see.
Might be a little...
No, I will promise I'll try not to put you all to sleep. Okay?
Thank you, that's good.
So as I said, this is our 2024 update for our member towns. My name is Charles Brown. I'm the Director of Health. This is some pictures of our staff that really try very hard to do those 3 Ps of public health, that prevent, promote, and protect. Some general information about CCHD. We are the local health department for the towns of Berlin, Newington, Rocky Hill, and Wethersfield. We serve a population just a little under 100,000. As I mentioned, we were founded back in 1996, have had 28 years of providing a broad range of public health services, and you'll kind of get a sense of that as we go through the presentation. We are one of 20 regional health departments in the state of Connecticut, and you can see us right there in the middle, that number 3, where you see a lot of the state is covered with blue. Blue is health districts. So we are one of 20 of those regional health districts. The yellow are full-time municipalities that have their own health departments, and then the 5 little white ones are still part-time departments, so they only have the services of a health director part-time. So general information, our central office is now in Rocky Hill on 2080 Silas Deane Highway. We also now have a clinical office that's located in Rocky Hill as well at 506 Cromwell Ave. We've got 15 full-time employees. This includes several grant-funded positions that we've gotten over time, mostly related with COVID activities. And we have over 50 active professional and lay volunteers that help us with a variety of things that we do. We have an oversight of 14-member Board of Health, and I'm lucky enough to be able to have our 3 representatives from Wethersfield here today sitting in the front row, Deb Hinault, Anne Marie DiLoretto, and Dr. Diane Duke. So the Board of Health is made up of board members that are appointed to the town, and it's based on population. So Berlin has 3 board members, Newington, our biggest town, has 4, and then Rocky Hill and Wethersfield each have 3 each as well. So let's talk about the bottom line to kind of start things off, because I know town council members generally like to hear about money. We are audited every year, and this is information from our most recent audit, 2022-23. So the total revenue that we actually brought into the district is a little bit over $1.7 million. Town contributions about $690,000. Program revenue, which is made up of our license fees and insurance revenue that we bring from doing all those flu shots, made up about $309,000. And then this year is a little unusual because we actually made more money from grants than we did from anything else. And that's a result of kind of that, the last of the COVID money that's coming in. We're starting to see a lot of those grants sunset. But during 22-23, we had quite a bit of revenue from our grants. We have a little bit of interest income added on to the end of it. Our expenditures, as I've mentioned many times before, most of our expenditures go towards our staff, either salaries or benefits. We don't make widgets. Our staff is our biggest investment. They're the professionals that actually do the public health work. Aside from that, we have a little bit of money, about $69,000, that does professional or contracts. Our program and operating expenses to run the offices and do the nuts and bolts at about $316,000. So what is the purpose of a public health agency? So started this off with kind of the 3 Ps of public health, and you can see that kind of thread its way through this conversation on this slide. So we prevent epidemics, we protect against environmental hazards, preventing injuries, promoting and encourage healthy behaviors. These are the things that public health does. We're a prevention-based agency. We also respond to disasters and assist communities in recovery. And we're still in that mode right now after the pandemic. And finally, we assure the quality and accessibility of health services within all of our communities. As you can see from the cartoon, I really wish we could walk into the pharmacy and ask for an ounce of prevention, but it takes a lot of work to be able to accomplish these goals. So I'll talk a little bit about the difference between health care and public health, because everybody kind of understands healthcare, but public health is a little bit different. It's a matter of scope. So in healthcare, our primary focus really is on the individual, that one person. The intervention really gets to the diagnosis and treatment of disease. The process that we use is to manage patient care and ultimately return them back to that individual to health. Where in public health, the population as a whole is our patient. The interventions that we use are assessment, developing policies, and assuring that those policies are carried out. We use systems management to assure that you have a healthy environment and that human behavior is affecting health positively. And then ultimately our outcome is to come to a healthy community. Had a little bit of a change here in the last couple of years. We've had the 10 essential services as the basic health program for the state of Connecticut. So within state statute, it says that the 10 essential services will actually be what every local health department has to do. Here a couple of years ago, they actually changed the center of this diagram to where instead of research at the center of all we do, we view everything through a lens of health equity. So making sure that everybody has the opportunity to be healthy within the communities that we have. And always around, you see that assessment, policy and development and assurance surrounds everything that we do in the essential services. So let me dive into some of the P's that we talked about. Very happy to say that we have a full-time epidemiologist on our staff now. Many of you may have seen the reports that we send and post on our website for the weekly epidemiology report. This is information that, we're happy to share with our towns and with our leaders so that they can make the appropriate decisions for their communities. So you see things like influenza surveillance, looking at 5-year trends. So being able to have that professional on staff has been a crucial function of public health that we've been missing for a long time. So part of that preventing epidemics and the spread of disease really is looking at the data surveillance. But it's not just COVID and the respiratory viruses. Sexually transmitted infections. We also look at things like opioid use, mental health data, foodborne illness and tick-borne illnesses. In addition, our school nurse, or not school nurse, but our public health nurse, is actually working with all 4 of our school nurse supervisors to define what it is to have an outbreak within the schools. So there's a standard among the 4. And also working with regional and statewide local EPIs for standardization across the state and the region. Our environmental health division is the foundation of public health. And it's really, I think when people think of public health, it's one of the first things that they think of is that restaurant inspector, the inspector that comes out and looks at your septic system or your well. Our environmental health division has done over 1,500 food service temporary events, septic pools, motel, hotel inspections, and salons annually. They do plan reviews, they look at permits and inspections for septic systems and water supply wells. In addition to that, in 2022, they responded to 223 complaints. They worked with the state attorney's office, with the state public health department, working with our local social service agencies to address really complex issues, including things like housing issues and hoarding issues that they really have to delve in there to try to help solve. our Community Health Division. They focus a lot more on the promotion of things. So we spend a lot of time the first week of April during Public Health Week. You knew that the first week of April was Public Health Week, right? I know that Mr. Mayor did. So we actually spend a lot of time in Public Health Week talking about how we can make the communities much healthier. So we get a preventive health block grant from the state of Connecticut. One of the things that we focus on through our Community Health Improvement Plan has been the chronic disease reduction. So we look at prevention through policy changes. So several years ago during Public Health Week, we brought our town planners, our town managers, leaders in the community together to talk about what we could do to encourage more active living. That process, that communal learning conference, really sparked something. And it took hold here in Wethersfield before anywhere else, because your folks, especially those in Bike Walk Wethersfield, helped to engage a complete streets policy. That was the first one in the district, but that work spread to Rocky Hill. So policies got enacted, and really from there, grants got put in, and we actually are seeing some of the kind of the fruit of that labor come back to the communities. So it's really exciting from a public health standpoint to see that communal learning come back into the policies that are going to affect the health of the community for much more into the future. Some of the other prevention and health promotion you might hear about is our Walk This May walking competition. So we have all 4 towns, the residents get together, and during the month of May, we actually have a competition. People record the steps, and we have a big trophy that stands about this high, and it's got about a size 13 shoe on top of it. It is ugly, but it is something that you in Wethersfield want to adorn your trophy case with, because that means that you had the most steps within the month of May. So we generally have anywhere between about 400 to 600 residents that actually participate in this competition every year. And we encourage that because it gives an opportunity, especially in the springtime, to get out there, get active, and that helps with the health of everyone in the community. One of the things that you probably have walked by dozens of times is right out the front here in the town hall is our bike repair station. Did anybody know what that was? Yep, I'm hearing some yes, that's good. So we actually funded bike repair stations, bike racks throughout all 4 of our communities through that preventive block grant to allow for people to be able to use that equipment and be more active as part of their transportation. In addition, we do a lot of flu shots, as I said at the beginning of this. October is the month that we generally do our flu clinics because that's right before the holidays, and it's usually the best time to be able to try to provide that protection against the respiratory illnesses. So we do that to prevent the influenza morbidity and mortality. We practice for a public health emergency, so we use those clinics every year to test our plans and make them better, and that was crucial prior to COVID because we didn't have to figure out how to run a drive-through clinic. We had done it. So those October clinics are just very important for a variety of reasons. In addition, they help to provide revenue for the agency that isn't specific to a grant, that we have some flexibility to use for the health programs that we need. COVID, I'll speak to that. During COVID, we had vaccination clinics and did about 38 clinics in addition to the homebound vaccinations that we did to reach the most vulnerable residents within our communities. We have our Putting on Airs program, which is an asthma home visiting program, where we have an asthma educator and environmental specialists that go to patients that have been referred to us from the medical providers to come up with an asthma action plan, and they actually do an inspection of the home. We do that in person. During COVID, they actually did it virtually. And what they do is they come up with an asthma action plan to assure that the patient's asthma is better managed through both their medication and assuring that their environmental triggers are taken care of. Our newest division is our Clinical Health Services program. So they've been focusing primarily on immunizations, and that includes child, adult, and senior high dose for influenza. They participate in our October mass clinics, but they also have appointments at our offices there in Rocky Hill. We're looking at the possibility of doing COVID vaccination in the fall. Once again, depends upon availability. We fill those gaps. And we do training on CT Wiz, which is the immunization registry that we have in the state. If you get a vaccination in the state, that information gets put into a statewide registry where you can go and look and your doctor can see what types of vaccinations that you've gotten. We also do testings and screenings in that facility, rapid PCR COVID testing, hepatitis C antibody screenings, which everybody should have at least once. So if you need to be screened for hepatitis C, we can do that as well. And doing blood pressure screenings. One of the final things I'll talk about tonight is our response to the opioid crisis. So CCHD has been the convener of our local response agencies in our 4 towns. We currently have work groups that address prevention, response, and recovery. And we were recently awarded an additional grant. We had a statewide opioid response grant that we've had for about maybe 4 years now. Where now we have another grant called the Overdose Data to Action Grant that we've gotten with working with the city of Hartford to actually look at opioid data and how we can be more efficient in being able to target the activities of our recovery coaches and the folks that are going out there dealing with those people that are trying to find a path to recovery from that substance use disorder. As we prepare for the future, we are looking at our administrative and health policies internally as well. So I'm happy to say that our board did a great job on January 26th, and they passed a strategic plan for our agency, which will help to guide us here for the next few years. We finished a community health assessment, and we're going to be engaging our communities around community health improvement planning. So some of our town leaders, like the mayor and the town manager, I'm going to be knocking on your door saying we need to talk overall about the health of our communities and how we want to improve that. So with that, the last 2 words always are thank you. Thank you to our member towns, to the public for the continued support, and I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you to our Weathersfield board members who came here. Appreciate it. So any counselors have any questions for Charles? If not, we will say thank you to you, and the door is always open. So if you're going to knock, we look forward to meeting with you. And I'd like to say, yeah, please go ahead. Health is wealth. So when we have our health, we have wealth. So you're helping us get wealthy with the health things that you're doing. So thank you.
Just keep it going, Ken.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. We will move on the agenda. We have 4 public hearing items, and what I'm going to do is call on the town manager one at a time, and we're supposed to have any public comment on each hearing item by itself. So we'll go 1 through 4. So C-1, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The first public hearing is related to 2 ordinances, actually. One is 024-002, and that's a revision to the town code related to the fees that we charge in the engineering department. The proposal here is to increase those fees from $35 to $60, and that's to be more aligned with our neighboring communities and for the work that's done here by staff. The second item here is for Ordinance 024-003, that's for Town Code 139-20, and that relates to the bonds that are issued, paid by the developers for a given project. Currently, those bonds are to stay in place for 5 years, and again, to be more aligned with our neighboring communities, this reduces that time down to 2 years. Those are the only 2 changes of those 2 items.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Is there any public comments on C-1, the public hearing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing for C-1. For C-2, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. C-2 is for 024-004. This is an ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement safety devices. The legislature this past session, not the current session, but the previous session, did approve an act that allows local municipalities to create ordinances that would allow them to put in place traffic enforcement safety devices. Those include both speed and stoplight cameras. There's lots of rules that go along with this, but the first step in a bit of a long process is the creation of an ordinance that would authorize us to move forward with these devices.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any public comment on this item? Cindy?
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Cindy Jacobs, 71 Sunrise Terrace, and I'd like to say a few words in support of this resolution. I'm expressing support for the resolution that enables the town of Weathersfield to install and operate automatic traffic enforcement safety devices as recently allowed by Public Act 23-116. First of all, I'd like to go over a few of the advantages. First, the automatic traffic enforcement safety device will improve traffic safety and save lives. According to government data, more than 1 in 4 traffic fatalities occur at speed-related crashes. The Federal Highway Administration estimates that speed cameras can reduce the number of injury crashes by nearly 50%. Automated traffic enforcement safety devices installed on our major thoroughfares, the Silas, Deane Highway and the Berlin Turnpikes, will result in better safety enforcement and increased vehicle and pedestrian safety. These devices will enable the town to track and identify and issue tickets for all motorists who commit speed limit and red light violations. Once motorists realize the presence of traffic enforcement devices or have paid a ticket from one of these devices in another state, many will adopt safer driving habits. Automatic devices will always record traffic infractions at all intersections, thereby administering traffic enforcement in a more thorough manner than the assignment of a traffic officer or more along our town's major thoroughfares. Other safety and benefits are the significant reduction and possible elimination of high-speed chases that can result in injury or death. Finally, the devices will eliminate the potentially dangerous confrontation of the police officer and the motorist alleged with the traffic infraction. Automatic traffic enforcement safety devices are fair. By administering automatic red light and speeding enforcement to all red light and speeding violators, it will separate enforcement from the identity of the driver. This eliminates the possibility of police profiling of selected groups or individuals. However, this may not be the case if devices are concentrated in areas within or adjacent to low-income communities. Importantly, the Connecticut DOT has published guidance prohibiting this practice pursuant to Public Act 23-16. Automatic traffic enforcement safety devices will save our town taxpayer dollars. The devices will require a financial outlay initially, but it will be offset by savings to the town in the form of traffic violation revenue. An important indirect financial benefit to the town is the ability of our traffic officers to be redeployed to other activities that will improve public safety and crime prevention. The better use of personnel resources and department talent will improve the quality of life in our town. Alternatively, police personnel savings would reduce overtime or the need to hire additional police officers. Are there downsides of automatic traffic enforcement safety devices? They are expensive upfront. I haven't done research on this cost, so I cannot comment directly on this and how it would affect our town budget specifically. I am aware that some municipalities and other states have used fees from automatic enforcement as a form of predatory rent seeking from motorists. The Public Act 23-116 has addressed this by limiting the cost of a ticket to $50 or $75 for a second and subsequent tickets, and requiring that funds collected from tickets and administration be earmarked for transportation improvements. These devices are not a panacea. Road design, fixing dangerous intersections, redesigning roads to encourage slower and safer driving is the primary factor that contributes to road safety. Because we are in the early stages of exploring the redesign of the Silas Deane Highway and hopefully the Berlin Turnpike with another grant request, the implementation of automatic speed and red light enforcement devices will be an important complementary effort in designing safer transportation corridors in our town. In sum, I believe that these safety devices, automated devices, offer many benefits and few, if any, downside. I urge you to support the resolution. I would offer these comments in implementing the traffic enforcement devices should they be funded and financed. I would further limit ticket collection to be earmarked for pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure improvements, sidewalk repair, bicycle racks, intersection improvements, lane striping for bicycles, and so on. As a final note, I recommend that if multiple devices are deployed at several traffic intersections along the length of the Silas, Deane, or Berlin Turnpike, the town should provide an estimate of personnel reduction in police traffic enforcement officers and the associated cost savings to the town, or the programmatic impact of shifting police personnel resources to other public safety efforts. And everyone has a story about being a pedestrian, and I'll just share mine because it was very recent. It was several weeks ago. And I was passing with my daughter between Asylum, on Main Street in Hartford, between Asylum, crossing Main Street at Asylum Street in downtown. And so we crossed when we had the correct green light and associated traffic signal. And unbeknownst to us, the cars were parked that were facing us, or opposing us, I should say. There were two motorcyclists who came at great speed in between the parked cars. This has never happened ever. I had no idea that I should be looking out for this sort of thing, and they passed at great speed through a red light. We didn't even know that happened until a few seconds after we had passed, and we escaped serious injury or death by a few seconds. So as it is now, that those two people are out and they are unidentified and free to do whatever they may do in terms of creating hazards to pedestrians and drivers. If there had been automatic signals, we would have identified them.
Thank you,
So
Sue.
thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Further comment on this item?
My name is Bob Woodward. I live at 456 Middletown Avenue here in Weathersfield. I really don't have a comment so much as a question. Back when this passed the legislature, there were articles in the Hartford Current that said intersections or places where the automatic devices would be located would be identified with some kind of signage. Is that going to happen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
The other thing is, if you're interested, I'll volunteer Middletown Avenue. We get speeders and we get passing over the double line, so consider it, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any further public comment on this item? Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I read this as well, and I think your fines are kind of heavy. I also think that we live in a community of senior citizens who continue to drive. This might drive them out from even driving. Just the fact that one or two or some or many drive through a light, go through on what do you call it, drive on right, or, when you come up to the traffic light, if it's nobody coming the other way, you can take a quick right. How that's going to work. And there are places in town that I've seen where you come up to the right and you can take a left while the light is still red too. So how is that going to work? So I think this is very progressive. It's a way of digging into people's pockets when you have issues out there that you haven't even taken care of for years. And it's a shame that you're now going after whoever when you have issues out there that the taxpayer is being raked over the coals on other monies that they're not getting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any further comment on this item? Hearing none, I will close that public hearing. Now C-3, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for Ordinance 24-005. It's amendment to the Fair Rent Commission, Article 23. This is just a technical adjustment. We found that there was an error in the ordinance, the original ordinance. which was simply that the amount for quorum was incorrectly listed, so we were just making that correction so that we have the right number there.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any public comment on public hearing C-3? Hearing none, I'm going to close that public hearing. Our last one for tonight, C-4, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for Resolution 24-001, and it's a resolution to authorize us to submit an application for Historic Preservation Enhancement Grant. This is part of the fact that we are now a cultural district, right? Certified local government, excuse me. Yes, we're a certified local government. This gives us the ability to apply for this grant. And this is actually for, the mayor's familiar with it because he was at the economic development meeting that it was discussed. But there's a book that's been created of photos of Weathersfield, the historic buildings throughout town. And this grant is to assist in the publication of that. It's going to help promote Weathersfield. It's going to help promote the work that's being done down there for historic preservation. So this is just to allow us to apply for this grant to help support that effort.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Any public comment on this hearing item? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing on C-4 and move on to agenda item D, public comment. This time, anybody from the public can talk about any item on the agenda or any other item. And you have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address. Anybody for public comment? Mr. Young.
Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I'm just going to go back on that bus, the red light thing, and it's really not the red light. Our Board of Education has cameras on our buses for vehicles that go past the yellow bus when children are getting out. Is there a record of accomplishments, dollars that came in from this episode, or has it been discontinued? Because I've never heard any more about it, but I recall 8-10 years ago, it being mentioned that you were putting these on the buses through a contractor, and that they were going to get them loads of money, okay? Obviously, you're not aware of it, all right? In reading the newspaper and hearing tonight about Mr. Brown, is he here? Oh, he's gone. He talks about some great things, and what he talks about, and right off the bat, is they got more money for grants. And then later on, he got more money for grants. I mean, obviously, the district operates on grants that are coming out of everybody else's pocket. And then I remember calling his office when I had some walkers to give away free that he could pass on to his clients. He was wrong. I guess that's because they get all kinds of grants and they get brand new. They don't pass on used stuff. But I think that's something that the district should be doing. I'm sure there's a tremendous amount of different kinds of walkers and wheelchairs out there that are not being used anymore that they could use and pass on to clients and people that come into their office needing some kind of assistance. At least we who have them can move them on and someone can use them. But I guess when they get all kinds of grants, it's all brand new and it's fine and dandy. That's how Connecticut works. Also, I mean, Mr. Brown talks about the different programs that they have set up within his organization to help people. And then I read in the Hartford Courant, most kids failing state physical fitness tests. Well, isn't that something that he just got done talking to us about, how they help and encourage people to exercise and get better and do whatever it takes to be healthy? But here we have kids The state says physical fitness, that they're failing state physical fitness tests. That's terrible. And then on top of it, another article, leaders launch campaign to tackle loneliness. Loneliness, that's part of what he should be doing too. Instead, the kids are playing the game all the time on their little computers, and they're lonesome, and costing somebody, us, the taxpayers, a lot of money. There's just, don't people take account in what they have to do to be healthy and to make it in life? Or do they need to have someone else funding something for them forever and ever? And we see this even with our colleges. And we see this with UConn. They need more money. They're in more crises. We see Hartford schools. They're in crises. Everybody's in crises today because they need more money. And money doesn't solve the problem, as we have seen. We have dumped millions of dollars into our education system here in Wethersfield, and our students aren't doing any better than they did 20 years ago. Our schools have roughly the same amount of students for the last number of years. And even though we are an abortion destination, and our productive citizens in town utilize that option a lot, our schools have been dropping in students, but we fill it up. We fill it up with cost, what do they call them? Some other kind of students that they bring in from Hartford. And what do we get? $8,000 a student, where it cost us $18,000. We take a $10,000 licking on every student, but we keep also our schools full. And our classrooms are big, whereas if we just had our own students, our classrooms would be much smaller in population. And I think we, or I should say our government and our school board administration have designed this perfectly in their favor, to keep something to complain about. Because look, if we didn't get those choice students, and that's what they're called, out of Hartford, into our schools, our school classrooms would be small, the population would be smaller.
Mr. Young, 5 minutes are up. I'm going to ask you to summarize.
And more controllable for the teacher to teach. But our superintendent likes this other program because he must get some, he must like that.
Thank you,
Thank you
Mr.
very
Young.
much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Hearing none, move on to council reports. Anybody on the council have a report to give?
One quick one.
Councilor Zambrello.
Just got one quick one tonight. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting of the Bike Ped Advisory Committee, but one of their members was kind enough to send me some notes, so I just wanted to make one note from those comments that there's some concerns around communication between that committee and planning and zoning and making sure they all understand what the other is doing. So Bike Ped expressed some interest in having someone from planning and zoning come to their meetings. Doesn't have to be the same meeting, but same member, but maybe on a rotating basis, just to improve communication there on the projects they're discussing. So
Just the new town planner is taking over that
Yes.
effort, so he obviously attends both of those meetings, and he informs both, he keeps both commissions informed, but I can certainly ask him to see if there's a possibility of a liaison.
He was there last night, so
Yeah.
I think he was involved in that discussion. I'm not sure what his input was.
I'll check
but
in and see what he wants to do with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council reports? Hearing none, I'll just mention one. It's the Veterans Commission on February 21st. I went with the chair of the Veterans Commission, Rick Newell, to the Rocky Hill Veterans Home for their Christmas in February program, and we passed out mostly toiletries and other things like that for the residents. Just so everybody knows, there's about 100 mostly disabled American veterans that live at the Rocky Hill Home. The staff there is great, and when you go there, you're there to give them a little bit. This is what the Christmas in February is, but you really get a lot more than you give in terms of, they talk about their stories of service. how much they love the country and how much they appreciate what we're doing. So that was something the Veterans Commission Chair helped put on, and I was pleased to attend and to be a small part of that. Council comments? Anybody have any particular comments? Any councilors? Councilor Carbone.
Actually. I just wanted to thank you, by the way. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of a very dear friend of mine. Danny Nolan was not a resident of Weathersfield, but he had very deep connections and ties within this community. He was an Army veteran and a retired firefighter from Hartford. He was very dedicated to charitable works and helped innumerable people in our community. He was a wonderful, wonderful, caring friend, and he will be dearly missed. His services are actually going to be held in Weathersfield. Friday the 15th will be at Farley and Sullivan, and then on Saturday for his funeral will be at Incarnation. It's just, he's leaving a very, very large void. I can't tell you how many people are going to be at these services, the people he's touched, the charities he's done, the people, I mean, I don't even know if I can talk about some of the things he's done, because it was incredible. And I even, he's only been gone since Friday, and I think, oh no, who am I going to call now for that, to help this person? He didn't do anything for himself, he did everything for others, and it's a legacy that he left behind. So thank you for letting me say that. And another thing I want to mention, those of us in town who have questions or comments about the Board of Education and the cost can go to a meeting that's being held tomorrow. I believe it's right here in the library, correct?
I was going to mention that, but thank you, Councilor.
To talk about the budgets, as we're coming into budget season. So I encourage people to get out into the community and talk to our people about that. Also, I think, something was mentioned tonight, and I just want to say it very quickly. I don't think revenue can be compared with public safety. A lot of the things we put in place in town are for to deter negative behavior, to help keep people safe. So however that's interpreted, but I just wanted to say that. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone, and sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Any other council comments? Councilor Rhodes.
Just going to follow up on the schools, right, supporting that meeting tomorrow. Weathersfield High School's musical is this weekend, and it's going to be a great show. It is a mystery. The audience gets to choose the ending, so you could go more than one time and it would be a different show. The kids are working really hard. The students at Weathersfield High School are pretty outstanding, and they're working hard. They're ready for opening night on Friday. It's 7:30 on Friday and Saturday, and 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. You can get tickets at the door, but they encourage tickets in advance. So.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes, and I know there's a great director running that show.
It's true.
For those who don't know, that's her husband, and I will be at the show Friday night, looking forward to it. Any other council comments? I'll make a few, and Shelley, thank you. Tomorrow night is, I'll call it a listening session on the budget. It's not a presentation of the budget. We don't even have it yet. It's really to get community input of things that folks may want to see in or out of the budget. It is tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8. It's hosted by myself and the chair of the Board of Ed, Bobby Granado. It's a public forum, so everyone is welcome. It's 6:30 to 8, and it's just to give feedback. I'll mention that we had a celebration of Bosnian Independence Day on February 23rd. It was held at Casa Mia, and we had a proclamation, Weathersfield, celebrating Bosnian Independence Day. The very next day, on the 24th of February, Weathersfield hosted the Connecticut Lunar New Year celebration. It was at Pitkin, and we had around 700 people there. This is a statewide celebration, statewide organization that put it on, and they want to come back every year, which I think is good for Weathersfield. I'll just mention a couple of things coming up this week. We have a meeting on Thursday night at 5 o'clock at Pitkin. It's to talk about, open to the public. It's a community engagement session to talk about Keisha Farm and where we might place things. It's a continuation of some of the meetings that we've had and some of the feedback we've heard about getting community input. And lastly, I'll mention to the public that the council is having a retreat this Saturday from 9 to 12. Sorry to make you work on a Saturday, counselors, but we have an exciting and important agenda. It's an overview of the budget timeline, a discussion of some of the key properties in town, an update of our strategic plan, and we are going to get a presentation from the director of the Webb Deane Stevens Museum, which is a real gem for Wethersfield, and it'll be important for all of us to know a little bit more about it, a little bit more about its history and George Washington, and I'm looking forward to it. Can't think of a better way to spend my Saturday morning than with all of you guys. So I will see you there, and that's it for council comments. Moving to item G, Town Manager's Report. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few items. I'll also note that we had a few important press conferences here over the last few weeks. We had Governor Ned Lamont in town on the 22nd, where he introduced a new bill that allows for easier access to regionalization for local municipalities. There's a lot of barriers right now in state law that make it very difficult for communities to work together on certain things, to share employees for certain things, that type of thing, where it makes sense to do so. So he's introducing a new bill, and he did a press conference right here in this room. Also, on the 28th last week, Lieutenant Governor Susan Bysowitz was in town announcing a grant for the Wethersfield Historical Society for the Herbert Dunham House, which is for the renovation that's ongoing down there, and that's going to be a major project, but this $500,000 is going to go a long way to help them. I think they're up to $1 million now that they've raised. They're going to need more than that. It's a big project, but it's a beautiful home, a really special place here in Wethersfield. So we've had some pretty big events here from a press conference perspective. I think people are starting to use Wethersfield more and more for these types of events, and that's great. I'll also mention that the Capital Region Council of Governments submitted a grant on our behalf, along with the towns of Berlin and Newington, as we're talking about regionalization. This is for the Berlin Turnpike, so very similar to the grant that we did with Rocky Hill for the Silas Deane that we were successful in getting. CROG actually took the lead on submitting this one. It's a raised grant to do a very similar project for the Berlin Turnpike through all three towns. So this is all important stuff that goes along with some of the other initiatives we talked about, like the stoplight and speed cameras. To Cindy's point, we have to also address some of the safety and design issues, and so that's what this project is for. So hope to get good news on that one soon, and that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Town Clerk report, Sue?
The first thing I just want to say is it's come to our attention that in the publication of the town guide and calendar, there was an error regarding the date of the public hearing for the upcoming budget. So it states that the date for the public hearing is 4/22/24, but the correct date is actually 4/15/2024. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. And then also, I've been advised by Justin LaFontaine that the Section 8-4C of the Connecticut State Statutes requires that planning and zoning commissions report training attendance to the legislative body of the municipality by March 1st. And the town clerk's office has received this document, and we have distributed it to the council for review.
Thank you, Sue. Moving on, item I, we have no bids. Item J, consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Council Rhodes, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Clancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay, item K, K-1, do I have a motion? Councilor Rhodes.
A motion to approve 024-002, revision to Town Code Section 139-18, and 024-003, revision to Town Code Section 139-20.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Councilor Zambrello. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Item K2, do I have a motion? Councilor Rhodes.
Motion to approve 024-004, ordinance authorizing the use of automated traffic enforcement safety devices.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Clancy. Any discussion? Councilor Timbrow.
I just had a couple questions. Is this something that is going out to bid, or how does that work?
Yeah, so this is the first step, like I said, in the multi-step process. We also have to adopt a policy around this. We also have to develop a plan of where the cameras will go and what types of cameras will go at which intersections. Have to submit that plan to CONDOT for review and approval, and then we go out to bid for a company to install those.
Okay, so we don't have any idea yet of cost or...
We don't, other than we have internally met with a few different companies that do this type of work, just to get kind of an idea of what this would cost us in terms of money out of pocket.
Yep.
And both companies, which are major players in this market, said there is no out-of-pocket expense, that they will utilize the revenue to pay for the installation. So basically, finance it through the revenue that's going to be coming in. The Connecticut law is very specific. Most other states that pass this allow for the companies to come in, install, own, run it, and then we just would get a cut. Connecticut law is very clear that we're not going to do it that way because they did not want the companies to be incentivized to give out more tickets.
I was going to ask that question.
So we have to own these, but what it does allow them to do is that we can do it on time. So similar to what a lot of solar installers do now. If you end up buying the solar, it's the offset of the money you're saving that will pay for it initially. So the offset of the tickets coming in, and they showed some graphs anywhere they've done this work to show that in the first few years, there's a large number of tickets, behavior changes and it goes down over time, and then there's kind of like a steady line of people that just are going to do it anyway. The tickets do not go against folks' insurance records. They're just what they are, they're tickets. So if you drive through it 50 times at speed, you're going to get 50 tickets, but it's not going to go on your insurance. What that will do, though, if you drive through it multiple times, is it'll allow us to place an officer at that same location and be ready to get you the next time, because when the officer pulls you over, it absolutely will go on your insurance record, and they're not limited to the $50 ticket either, or $75 in this case. So I think I answered your question, but yeah, so it won't cost us anything going into it, but it'll be paid for over time through the ticket sales. We will still see profit in their estimation over the first several years, but over time, that profit will decrease, but it'll be paid for at that point.
So just to clarify, so did you say eventually we'll own it? Is that the...
We'll own it outright at the beginning, essentially, but we'll be financing it through the companies, through the ticket sales, yeah.
But you said, I'm sorry.
No.
But you said no cost going.
Correct, no cost. At least, again, we've owned that with two companies just to kind of get an idea. We didn't want to,
I just want to make sure I heard.
Yeah, and they were both in the same vein, saying, no, it's not going to cost you anything initially, that they will fund it up front, knowing that the revenue is going to be there. They also manage the system, these companies, so they're the ones that get the data, send out the tickets with our information on it, and then, but then we get all the reports and everything from there, so.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Timbrow. Further, Councilor Clancy.
I have several questions.
Yeah.
What's the percentage? What would,
Percentage,
of what we would get from the tickets and their
Cindy,
administration?
pull your mic down so
Oh, I'm
that
sorry, I always do that.
folks at home can hear you, too.
Okay, yeah, my question was, what, from the two companies that you've
Yeah.
talked to, what is the percentage that we would get of their?
we get 100%, because Connecticut law does not allow them to do it the other way.
Good.
So essentially, we'll have to pay them back for the installation from the money that we get, but there's no initial outlay of funds, and we don't have to pay any more than what we get back and that's even guaranteed in their contracts. So, but we get 100% of the money in. We do have to pay them a service fee for administering.
That's, okay,
Yeah.
all right. And what are the two companies that you met with? Was one of them, I started looking at the
Yeah.
companies today, it was really interesting.
Sure.
It was one of them Traffic Logics?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, because they have a whole combination of safety stuff that they do where they combine that with, they build rubber traffic bumps and do all the other
Sure.
things that people have been
Yeah,
wanting.
there are several groups, because Connecticut passed this law, that are moving into the state and setting up meetings with a lot of towns. We met with a couple of them, and we said, we're going to stop now. We get the idea of how this works, and then we're just going to go out to RFP and see what we get back.
Okay.
And I expect that we'll get a number of proposals in when we do the RFP.
Well, I read the exciting, it's guidance for municipalities developing automated traffic enforcement safety, which answers all our questions.
Sure.
But one of the things apparently that we need to give the DOT is a Vision Zero action plan.
Yep.
No, we don't have one, do we?
So there's a regional action plan on that, so believe that
Covers us?
covers us, but, yeah.
Who's in the region?
And I don't know, Derek, do we have,
I didn't think we did.
yeah, but
I know
I will get
Concord
you
has
the
one.
information on that. But no, there's several steps we have to submit to DOT, and part of that, part of the work with whoever we hire is going to help us put all that together to submit to conduct.
Okay. So, I mean, the company that we would be hiring would also do the submitting?
Would help us with some of this, yeah, as
Okay.
part of the
And they'd
RFP.
probably, I would assume, also look at the town to see where they think the greatest need is, right?
Correct.
And we also don't have any of these, and I forgot what they're called, the specific areas of neighborhoods that are, where you don't want to put them.
We actually have one small section of the Silas, Deane, down.
Qualified census tract.
Down towards Rocky Hill, we do. And
Okay.
all that means is we cannot have more than 2 cameras in that zone. We wouldn't have more than 2 cameras
Okay.
in that zone anyway, in any tight area like that, but yeah, that's the only section of town.
Oh.
But, so we have to submit the plan to ConDOT that shows where every single camera would be, and they will review based upon the act to say, yeah, you can do that, or no, that's not an appropriate place,
Okay.
find a better place. Yeah.
Well, because along with this, they give you the map to show you what town, and it said that there were none in Weathersfield. But
Not
I
in
suspect you
terms
know
of-
more than they do.
There's actually one small one, yeah,
Okay.
in Weathersfield.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
No further questions.
Thank you, Counselor Clancy, and you get an A for reading whatever that document is.
Guidance for municipalities
Yeah.
developing an automated safety
Wow.
traffic enforcement
That's-
device.
Yeah, wow, that's a mouthful, that's impressive, thank you. Further, Counselor Zambrello.
Well, a lot of my questions have been asked already, and Cindy Jacobs, too, went through a lot of the pros and cons here, so that was really, really helpful. So I just want to note a couple things that we haven't talked about yet, and then ask a couple questions. So Mr. Woodward brought up the signs, and yes, signs are required. I believe it's at least 2 conspicuous signs going towards, as you're approaching the cameras. There's also a 30-day grace period when the cameras first go up.
Yes.
So that if you go through one of these red lights and you get a picture of your license plate, instead of getting a ticket the first time, you're going to get a written warning. So it gives everyone, especially in town, who aren't going to be used to this right away, it gives you some opportunity to learn without immediately getting that ticket. And those tickets are intended to be more akin to a parking ticket, like you mentioned. They're not a point on your license. They don't impact your insurance. They're $50 or $75 as opposed to the ticket you'd get for speeding or running a red light if a police officer pulled you over. Now, there was a mention of a fee for paying a ticket online, up to $15. Is there a fee currently for other tickets that are paid online? Do we do that normally?
For traffic enforcement?
Yeah.
I don't know specifics of that. I'd have to get you the answer from the chief.
Okay, so I'm
Miss
wondering.
Sergeant, do you know if there's a fee for, yeah.
Okay, and what other options do people have for paying tickets right now?
They can go to the police station, or actually, no, they go to the tax collector's office and they pay there.
Okay, $15 seems high for a $50 to $75 ticket, so I'd like to see us keep that as low as possible. There was one minor thing in section 157-28. It says the city instead of the town in that first line.
You're correct. All right, we'll make that change for the next meeting.
Okay. Do
Or we can, or,
Do we just amend it?
yeah, we can
do
just
that?
amend it, make that
Okay.
change.
All right, I'm going to do that now or ask a couple more questions first?
You can ask more questions.
Okay.
You can do-
So one of the areas where we could prioritize cameras are pedestrian safety zones. Do you know if we have any of those in town? There's a particular process with DOT you have to go through. I'm wondering if
It's-
those exist.
DOT has a criteria that defines what those are, so, and again, that'll be part of the work we'll do with the contractor.
Okay, and the last one, and maybe Counselor Clancy can correct me if I'm wrong on this, since she read that entire document. The guidelines say for red light camera, there have to have been at least 2 crashes over a 3-year period. I believe it was 2020 to 2022. And I looked at the data that was linked for Weathersfield, and it looks like there are about 12 intersections that qualify there. Several on the Silas, several on the Turnpike, Jordan and Ridge, Wells and Goff, Wells and Wolcott, Prospect and Maple and Elm. So I just wanted to note that for the public in case you haven't seen that. But that I believe is the criteria for the red light camera. So
And even the speed camera, there are criteria there too, based upon the number of enforcement actions we've taken in a given area. But as you've seen with the chief's regular presentations here, we've got some very good data to support all of these. So I mean, we won't recommend them anywhere they're not supported.
yeah, okay, great. I'm glad to support this today. It's something that I was on the fence about for a long time, but the more I've learned about it and talked to people around town, I think it's a good idea. It's not going to solve all the problems with our roads. We definitely need more thoughtful road design and traffic calming and all of that too, but I think this is a good stopgap while we work on some of those bigger issues. And I think it will change behavior, so that's all.
And I'll note too, just not only the signs have to be placed, 2 signs before each one of these cameras, we also have to send all the information to both Google Maps and to Waze and the other automated systems that people use when they drive around, so that it alerts drivers as they're driving, stoplight camera ahead, speed camera ahead. So if you drive around with any of those, you hear those sometimes as you're driving, that you're going to get that too, because that's part of the requirement that we have to do that.
Thank you, Councilor Zambrello. Further council comments or questions? I'll just make a few. Thank you. I'm embarrassed to show you this, but I'm going to show you this. This is a speed violation that was taken by a camera. So about 3 weeks ago, my wife and I went to visit our oldest daughter in Washington, D.C., and they have speed enforcement cameras in Washington, D.C., and they don't tell you. They don't tell you. There's no signage. I'll tell you guys. I was going 48 miles per hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone, so 13 miles over. My ticket is $100. You have 30 days to pay it, or it goes to $200. So this is from the, so point in telling you this is, well, I'm not happy about it, but this will deter me next time I go to Washington, D.C., and I will think about this when I'm driving to visit my daughter, because I don't want to get another $100 ticket. So, and that's the point. The point is, we're trying to change driver behavior. We're trying to deter drivers from not only speeding, but distracted driving, running red lights, being on their phones. We've had too many fatalities in Weathersfield recently, and a lot of it is speeding, running red lights, other forms of distracted driving. And actually, people have asked me, I'm sure they've come up to you, other councilors, well, what are you guys going to do about it? Well, this is one big thing we're going to do about it, is we're going to have a deterrent. And I think when someone gets their first $50 ticket, they're going to be a little more careful the next time. And maybe that will eventually save lives or prevent accidents as people are a little more careful. We need to start to change driver behavior. That's one of the 2 major things. The other, as everyone has said, is road design. But road design takes a while, road redesign, and it takes a while to do that. We do have a grant for that. So I am going to be more careful. I'm asking all of you to be more careful, and I think this is a good step in the right direction. So if there is no further, yep, Councilor Zambrello.
I would like to move that we amend Section 157-28, subsection A, where it says the city, and replace that with the town.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have to vote on the amendment first?
Yep.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, all in favor of Councilor Zambrello's amendment?
Aye.
Any opposed? Amendment passes. And now we'll move the question. All in favor of the amended motion? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. K-3, do I have a motion? Councilor Rhodes.
Motion to approve 024-005, amendment to Fair Rent Commission Article 23, 10-87 organization.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Zambrello. Any council comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. K-4, do I have a motion? Counselor Rhodes.
Motion to approve R24-001 Resolution to submit an application for a Historic Preservation Enhancement Grant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Counselor Clancy, I heard you first. Any council questions or comments?
I have a comment, which is just
Counselor
that
Clancy.
I had a sneak peek at the book, and I think it's stunning, and I think everybody in town is going to want a copy. It's really beautiful. And I think there's probably nothing better that we could put a tiny amount of money in that would give us back what we would get from investing in this book. It's like an amazing advertisement for the town.
Thank you, Counselor Clancy. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh,
Actually, I'm sorry.
Counselor Carbone.
I do have one question. So this is,
Sorry.
where are the proceeds from this book sale? Where do they go?
I'll ask Joya to come up and answer any questions, or Jill.
Hi. So the proceeds will go to Deane Stevens Museum. They're the publisher
Okay.
who will be bringing this out to the public and taking it to the last hurdle.
Okay, so the Deane Stevens, that's right next to Keeney, right? I get all my historic
they're right
buildings
across the
confused.
street.
I'm sorry.
That's where we're going to be on Saturday.
Across the street.
Great,
Right across.
so, like, I have some questions, but I can.
Counselor Carbone, go ahead.
No, are they the private entity that runs that? Is there a private entity associated with the Deane Stevens?
It's the Dames.
Yeah, the Colonial
Danes.
The
Danes.
Colonial Dames run the,
So the Dames are getting the profits from the book? I'm just curious, because I mean, I think this is a great book, don't get me wrong, I think it's a beautiful idea for the town, but I was just
Yep.
curious as to see.
Well, yeah, I'm going to invite Jill Fletcher up because she's been
Okay.
involved in the project all along. So
Sure.
she understands all the budget side of it.
Thank
Jill,
you.
just introduce
Better than I
yourself, if you will, please.
Sure, I'm Jill Fletcher, and I live at 91 Main Street here in town. The book was written by Ann Kukrow, who is a historian in town that paid a lot of attention to all the architectural assets. So that manuscript has been turned into a publication where we have like an architectural digest level photographer that has created this beautiful document. In order to get it produced, we approached a publisher. We approached Wesleyan University Press. Wesleyan University Press said, absolutely, this needs to go and get produced. We'd love to publish it. This is the path to publishing. And they recommended, of course, that we have local support if we're trying to celebrate our town. So by having a museum partner and one of the historic museums as the publication partner, so it is Wesleyan University, or it's Deane Stevens Museum in association with Wesleyan University Press, we have a true publisher. We have the support of the town. This grant is to get the support of the state. So what will happen is we'll be celebrated all over. So this isn't actually, the town has donated a small amount of money through EDIC and through the Heritage Commission, but the grant is for the state of Connecticut. It's through the SHPO office, the State Historic Preservation Office, who will pay the other half of the money to print the book. So the first half of the money has come through one private donation, 2 small donations from the town, and Wesleyan University Press arranged to get a $5,000 grant from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving. So all this application does is allows the town, the municipality, to apply for a match from the funds that were already raised. So there's no additional out-of-pocket things. The money that Deane Stevens would get, but they'll be like the retailer, right? So they'll be promoting the book, they'll have a launch event, they'll be doing all kinds of things in order to help the books to sell. For their efforts, they get the proceeds that they're going to designate for further historic preservation in town. So it's a full circle.
Thank you, I really appreciate all the information.
Sure.
My next question was to be like the match and grant kind of situation, but it's not, so no other monies will be coming out of the town's pocket. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Carbone. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. I'm on N-1. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is for introduction only. It's a resolution that is required as part of the Division of Emergency Management and Homeland Security's process. It essentially would name me as CEO Town Manager to authorize to execute any agreements we get with them. They provide us with grants every year. We also do exercises with them for emergency management on a regular basis that require executions of documents. I need to be named as the CEO officially on this document, but in order to do that, they require a resolution, so that's what this is for. So this will come back to you at the next meeting for vote and public hearing.
Anybody have any questions on this? Hearing none, we'll move on to our second public comment, item O. Anybody from the public wish to speak, just place your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Mr. Young.
Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. The red light and speed camera that you just discussed and voted on, I look at that as low-hanging fruit. And that's all it is, low-hanging fruit. Do you go after the bad guys? No. Do you chase the bad guys? No. And when you do catch them, what are you doing them? You turn them loose. When I say low-hanging fruit, you're going to go after the seniors and other people in town who are respectable. You're going after respectable people. The criminals that ride on our streets, like Mr. Forrest talks about, and spins their wheels and rides their bikes, those motorbikes, they'll never get caught because our police don't go after them. Look, we got a policeman here tonight. We've had a policeman here since first part of January. Is that a good spending of his time for that policeman to be here for 2 hours or how many hours we are here? And you're going to be paying him overtime? And we talk about overtime costs all the time, don't we? I think having a policeman in here is wrong. I don't know who he's protecting. We're short on policemen, aren't we? And we stick him in a job like this. He should be out on the streets chasing criminals. All those people who are doing bad things out there, I'm sure he would love to do that. That's what he signed up for. He didn't sign up to come and stand like a statue at a meeting and watch and listen. He didn't do that. Somebody put him there, and I think that was a big mistake. You know, I see in the paper, police take top salaries in Bristol. Top guy, detective, he made $334,000 last year with 17 cops on the city's high pay list. $374,000 to a detective. He must have been underground for a long, long time. And then, of course, this morning, Hartford Courant had our Wethersfield's rank of highest paid employees as well. And I come here and, like I say, that man wants to go out and chase criminals. That's what he signed up for. He didn't come here to come to a meeting here. But anyway, that's Wethersfield. Spend money foolishly. There is no spending money smartly. You don't do it here. Show me. There's no analysis in what you people do to show where the money is and where's it going to go. You don't even talk about many things about, you bring programs in and everything is quiet and past. And nobody knows what the whole gizmo is all about. You did that with the Keisha farm. Was there ever a mention how much money it was going to cost us if we did this? Or how much money it was going to cost if we did that? Or how much money if it would have cost if we did something else? No, not a word. We didn't even know what the property was worth based on a professional appraisal, did we, Mayor? You never shared it with us. Mr. Forrest never shared it with us. The rest of the town council at that time did not share it with us. And it was a heck of a lot less money than what we paid for it. And you put it on referendum. And you sold it to the people. The people were snookered. Absolutely snookered. Now, here we are, we're going to have another discussion coming up, which I think we should. No question about it. And I would really think other governmental uses for that property is a big thing. Tomorrow night or whatever night you're going to have that, Mayor, I hope you explain what, you're going to make a farm out of it? How much are you going to make? If you're going to make a baseball field or whatever, how much are we going to make? I mean, you put $2.4 million into that property without telling us what the real value was. You hid it from us. That's worse than a criminal. But that's Connecticut. Connecticut does that. Connecticut hides things. Wethersfield does the same. And I just find this government, the last government, hey, I'm waiting to comment on, when Mr. Forrest is here, on the message that Mr. Lesser, the senator, sent out the other day that I received. I was going to talk about that tonight, but he's not here. And I refuse to talk about it tonight because he's not here. But the fact is, more money, more senseless spending of money, and the taxpayers get ranked. I think they're going to get ranked on this lights, red light and speed cameras. You're going to have a lot of ticked off people who just slipped through the light and got a ticket. And how do they defend themselves? It's better to pay I know the word is it's better to pay the $50 and go hire a lawyer. I know. And that's probably exactly what the town of Wethersfield and every other town that gets in on a deal like this considers. Oh, it's only a $50 donation. Oh, we'll mail them. And that's exactly what you're going to do. Not a nice town there. I've said many times this is crooked and dishonest. And I continue saying that, but I look forward to coming to the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Young.
And, a detective making $334,000, I'm glad we don't have him in Wethersfield, okay? But we have that man over there who's probably wants, like I say, wants to chase bad guys and catch them
You're
and
fine.
bring them to
I'm going
justice.
to ask you to
Thank
finish.
you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Any further public comment? Councilors, I have good news. We do not have executive session. We have a lot of meetings this week, so we're going to get out a little early, and the item we'll take up in a future meeting. Is anything else? If not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. If you guys want to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. The second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Wait, I was opposed.
Put Rich down first. No, thanks, everybody.